touch on that. I always tell people when they come to me, they say, oh, you know, revolution, you have a lot of revolutionary figures from Latin America that are from the left wing. I explain to people, our revolution doesn't come with socialism or communism. That's an adverse effect of America's pressure. Originally, we heard the great prognosticator of democracy come down to Latin America at a time when we had a series of horrible imperialist military dictatorships that governments now are trying to resemble, you know, where, you know, if you were convicted of raping a woman as a military officer, you could get out of it by agreeing to marry her. The most insane type of laws you could possibly imagine that governed a government. But when we look at that, when people were saying you can have a democracy and you can vote for your own leaders, we thought that's wonderful. What a great idea. And then the great proselytizer of democracy, we realized, was the same one backing up Stroessner, Batista, you know, the imperialist governments that existed in Latin America. And the country and the people of Latin America said, what else do you have on the table? Who else has something besides
and the
this?
Soviets came.
And the Soviets and the Chinese came. And I explained to people, yes, that's a natural part of our society, but what we have to explain to individuals is we didn't need a European man to come from the 19th century and explain to us dark people in Latin America the complex concept of
Plus, anybody from Europe or the U.S., no matter what color they are, if they've got globalist backing, they're coming with the corporate jackals. They're coming with the economic hitmen. And so that's the issue. But then you find out that the mega banks, and this isn't a conspiracy, this is on record, funded the communist movement knowing Europe was revolting against the robber barons and the royalty. So they created a new fake grassroots movement that they could control. So it's the same thing with the Soviets going in there. Absolutely. It's like running from Bush to Obama and then running from Obama to Mitt Romney. They're all part of the same thing. So what do you say for America and Latin America and the world? What is at your core, Immortal Tech, what is at the core of your belief, studying this so long, being an articulate, smart guy who's been around the world? From your historical research, then, what system do you like? Because, look, you've got Peter Thiel, the big Bilderberg guy, trying to take over the libertarian movement right now and turning it into a fake...
Someone once told me that Christianity, Islam, Judaism, all of these religions expanded specifically because they fell into the hands of lesser men. If they had been run by the original people who conceptualized the ideology and who for some reason had it close to their heart and veins, you know, do you think Jesus Christ would look at the way that people have commercialized his religion? Do you think Yeshua ben Yosef would be able to look at it without shedding a tear and saying, you've missed the basic premise of everything that I'm trying to tell you, which is treat other people the way you want to be treated? You know, if I came back, I would be a Mexican born in a manger. You know what I mean? In a hoopty, you know, on occupied territory that was stolen during a war that people started purposefully because they knew they could goad an idiot like Santa Anna into attacking, and then reach around with different forces, pull the entire Navy up to Veracruz and then Los Angeles. What would he say about that? He would be born into a society that he had no technical human rights in, similar to the way the Hebrews were treated in Rome. Now, when you discuss all of these issues that are going on in the world, I think what people don't do is they don't connect the actual history to it. And I think that's where I try to implement that to them, or implement those ideas when I say, hey, listen, if you look at the history of Russia and the quote-unquote USSR bringing freedom, did they bring freedom to Eastern Europe?
No, they brought mass murder and death.
You have to understand, they did the same thing to Eastern Europe that America did to Central America and to the Caribbean.
They colonized it.
Colonized it, took it over, and said, you know what, we're going to make you dependent on us, to the point that they can still shut off the gas in the Ukraine 5 years ago. Oh, do you got a problem? There you go. What's your problem now? Oh, you have an issue with me and something I'm saying? Cool. You know, I'm going to put polonium in a pellet, and I'm going to put it into your body, and you're going to die of cancer a week later. Don't toy with me. Don't play with me. You know, they give specific examples of people, and the CIA was complicit in the killing of an archbishop of the Catholic Church, Romero, in El Salvador. And yet, even though he was made a saint, there's no gigantic backlash against the government and against them being there in present day times because they've forgotten that history. And I think when you remind them of that and you show them this is the blueprint, in the same way that you point out historical facts from a timeline for people, you know, when you speak to them in plain language and you say, hey, listen, this is real. This actually happened. This is not a fraud. You know, this is not a conspiracy. When people talk to me about 9/11 and they say, hey, you know, how can you not believe the government story? And I always say, listen, I am not sitting here saying that I know exactly what happened, but you know what? I will say this much. I cannot believe the government because they couldn't tell the truth about the air to breathe to people. That's the simplest thing in the world.
That's it. If they've been caught lying over and over and over again and caught doing false flags, you've got to question it. But